Okay, now that my capacitor is fully recovered, I'm ready to start ratting. Very important to understand what is unlocal. In this case, we do have one red. There have been two types of reds that we have been seeing in ESO standing. First one is a Don Trolleone with a number. He is a Bombers Bar member that will hot drop on anything from locals to supers, and he will, if Bombers Bar is available and within range, drop on Nixes. So be very mindful of that. Always be aware of Intel channel and other things indicating whether or not he is active. Second person is this guy, Schnitzel. He and many others of very red standing may be very well acquainted with Cloud Templars. Cloud Templars is actually one guy. His name is Nom Nom. He will go and pounce on anything from small VNIs to potentially a lone local. He will never go after a carrier or especially a super, unless it is extremely fortuitous, but definitely not a super. If you see him in system, you need not worry, as he will be a very low, practically non-existent threat. Before we get started, I'm just going to start by turning on my various mods, passive mods that can just stay right there and active. Turning on the probe scanner, let's go find a site. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will focus on havens. Always good to have the routing channel open to see what has been taken and what is still standing. In this case, we do see that one person is in TRN, but he has not posted for quite some time. DScan reveals that not much is going on. We have one Thanatos and one NID. It's pretty safe to say that I'm going to jump blindly and go forth. When doing a haven, it is very important to understand what type of haven you are jumping into. There are two types. A rock haven, which is very, very easy to accomplish and do in any type of carrier, as it is a closed environment where the NPCs are engulfed in rock formation. They will pass through eventually, but it is very easy because it is a big choke point. The second variation is what is called a gas haven. Gas havens are far more aggressive and do require a bit of finesse to attend to. Regardless, any type of anom that you see, whether it's a haven, a sanctum, or other, will be a joke in a super. To find out which type of haven you are jumping into, what you can do is initiate a warp 2 and then back out immediately. If you see a ship computer indicating that there is a jump gate or stargate nearby, that means it is a rock haven. As I am jumping in a Nyx, it is important to be mindful of the distance between your hops, mostly because it will take a very long time to reach your destination. So I will sort by destination distance and find the first one. Again, repeating the same process to find a rock haven. Bad one, going to take it off the list. Good one. When doing a haven, it is a mandatory requirement to go no closer than 30 km away. This is a critical piece of information, as you do not want to get stuck inside of the rock haven, nor do you want to be too close to actually be caught by anything that drops in, because they will most likely drop in at 0 to 20. If you are not using an MTU, you could easily go at an alternate range of 50 or 70. Highly recommended if you are not dropping an MTU. In my case, I will be dropping an MTU. And here we go. Note the very long align time for a super will take quite a while to go. And there we go. A good helpful thing to do to be civil in a SO standing environment is to call your sites well before you are actually in process of making the alignment. When arriving on grid, obviously it would be nice to see that there's nobody there. Otherwise, you'd be looking for a new one. For the purposes of this tutorial, I will highly recommend going back to your ping and realigning back out to your Fortizar. First thing you should do, turn on your sensor array. Otherwise, targeting will be very, very difficult and very lengthy. It is very ideal to set up good hotkeys. And for the sake of this tutorial, I will be going a lot slower to explain. Hotkeys being programmed will save you tons and tons of effort when locking, selecting, and controlling your fighters. In this case, I will start by selecting everything. I have hotkeys to select all my fighters. In this case, I press 0, and you notice all my fighters have been selected. I do not have my ship under the selection. And what I will do now is I will deselect via hotkeys my various fighters as I wish. In this case, since I have 5 salvos, it is keyed to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the number pad. Using the number pad is a very easy way to easily control and manipulate which fighters you wish to select. Again, with 0 being select all. I have no deselect all. So I will start by deselecting my 2 Templars, as I do not need them as much. I will still be able to control them, but I do not need to worry about them from a context of where they are going. So a critical point, which I will reiterate, because I did not explain that very well, is I will launch my fighters, I will let my Templars and control my other fighters via the targeting panes under each of the various targets. But I will control my movements only with my selections. I have a hotkey number 7, launches all fighters. At which point I'm going to target 2 here, 1 here, and 1 to each of my various things. Of course, I will send out my Templars a little faster, and I will let them go. If I want to, I will also tell them to throw their missiles elsewhere. And one important thing to note is I will always leave my emitats selected. And what I will do is, before the first wave is done, I will call them back, whether or not they are even needed. I will demonstrate this a little bit better in the next wave. Again, showing a little bit faster with a little bit more detail. My emitats have to always be moving. Templars should go always at the smallest things. Emitats go to the faster items. Again, once the selection is set, I do not change the selection unless I need to recall a specific fighter. In this case, my Templars will hardly receive any damage. Always be mindful of what is on your D-scan and in your local. Showing you another layer of this. Again, keep the emitats moving. heavies being targeted, lights being targeted. Third option, launch the missiles at the third option. That way you always keep them going. Notice the range right here. This is the outrange, optimal range where they're going to be orbiting. I will let them go out there and I will call them back. I use the Q key to call my fighters back. Always keep them moving before the target gets popped. That way, when the target gets popped, they do not stop. Fighter is being targeted right here. So I will go after the small stuff very fast and first. I will start locking up everything short of that one guy. These guys are still moving. If they aren't, keep them moving. Use the Q key and keep your guys always moving. And what you'll find is when you get into a good rhythm, you're just going to keep clicking on every single thing that is there. Note I am not using any of my T2 or T3 abilities outside of my missiles. I can use my micro warp drive on my Templars to keep things moving faster, but I am not going to need to do that anytime soon, as I'm not going between far distances. One very common thing to do is to lock up a medium medium-sized ship, and launch either a missile and a laser attack at it, or to simply just send an MATAT at it. Again, fighters are out there, pull them back, always keep them within 20k of your ship. Reason being, if this guy starts to get weak, I need to get him back ASAP. You will notice once I start targeting, I will recorrect and self-correct the flight time of my ships. And I will tell them to come back or stay within my realm. I often call this the yo-yo effect. Now that I'm on the final wave, very important to lock up the small stuff first. No more than one or two of the other things. Again, laser, missile, insta-pop. MATAT, insta-pop, insta-pop. Get rid of the small stuff first. Again, could be a bit of a chore, but gotta keep those MATATs moving. Because as soon as they pop and stay slow, they will take damage. This one is very important because what's going to happen is you want to get off grid as soon as possible. When you're down to your last few guys, start pulling them all the way back manually. Again, targeting, look at them go. They're trying to get back into the battle. I'm pulling them back. I want to get them to 5k because I don't care. I want them to come back now. People will say that that is not necessarily a good thing, but look at this. Now, I hit 9 on my keyboard, tell my drive to engage on my Templars, they come back fast, and the MATATs are almost basically back already. And now I'm ready to go and warp back to a safe point. Don't need to wait for the fighters to be recalled. I do not need to get off grid at any point before anything else. As probably being displayed right now, I clearly made a mistake along the way. My ship did not stay aligned to the Fortizar, and now I'm dealing with a longer warp align time. If this was kept in check during this video, I would have been able to warp off right away. Better luck on the next one.